Hello and welcome to Unboxed, the podcast that dives deep into the world of custom packaging and innovative brand experiences. In each episode, we'll be exploring the latest trends, innovations, and best practices in the design and packing industry, and then taking a look at how they can help businesses like yours to create memorable and impactful brand experiences. I'm your host, Sam Johnston. Let's get started. Welcome to Unboxed, the show that dives deep into the world of custom packaging and innovative brand experiences. In each episode here, we'll be exploring the latest trends, innovations, best practices in the design, packaging, and the marketing industry, and how they can help businesses like yourselves to create memorable and impactful brand experiences. I'm your host today, Sam Johnston, and in this episode, we'll be talking to Raphael Farasat, the CEO and creative director at Truffl. They're an award-winning branding agency, venture studio with clients like Heineken, Rag & Bone, Spotify, Sonos, Tesla, FX. The list impressively goes on. And we're super excited to have them on the show today. So thanks so much for giving your time today, Raphael.
Thank you, Samuel. Very excited to be here.
Amazing. Well, as always, we're going to run through 5 questions here. I'll let the listener know what those are, just in case they want to be able to jump to that specific question, and they'll be time-stamped in the episode. But the first one's going to be what inspired our guest today to get into the industry that they're in, and basically get involved in branding, packaging, and this sort of product side of the world. Then any experience that they have where custom packaging or brand experiences have contributed to creating loyal customer bases, maybe some examples of strategies that they've seen for things that are achieving that, and then any success stories or case studies maybe where they've seen brands transform themselves through custom packaging and design exercises. The fourth one will be what are some of the biggest challenges and roadblocks that businesses face when it comes to these different areas of branding and marketing. And then the last one will be getting out our crystal ball, looking at the future and seeing what are some of the future custom packaging and brand experiences that are going to evolve over the next 5 to 10 years, and what could businesses like you be doing today to stay ahead of that curve. So we're going to jump right back up to the front here. And Raphael, what inspired you to get into our industry? And what kind of involvement do you have within the branding, packaging, and product industry today?
Definitely. So I grew up in a very entrepreneurial household and community. I always wanted to start my own business. And I went to school for that. I studied entrepreneurship as an undergrad. But I also, in my personal life, am a writer and a designer and a creative. And so I initially got out of school and I started my own business, hired an agency to do the branding for that business, found myself very engaged by that process. And over time, realized I enjoyed the starting of the business and the conceptualizing of the business more than I did the day-to-day operations of a mature business. Mm-hmm. And I made a big pivot and I started my agency and am self-taught in a lot of ways through working with really, really talented and amazing people. I've kind of developed my own processes and skill set, but it all came through that love and passion for entrepreneurship together with a love of storytelling and creative. And so today, as the creative director of my agency Truffl, we basically do 360 brand development for both emerging brands and established ones. For emerging brands, it's everything from coming up with their core strategy, their naming, often their messaging and communication, all the way down to their design, which is their brand identity, packaging concepts and executions, photography, and web. So I play a important role throughout that whole life cycle and really try to be an advocate for each client, really understand their vision, it's their business after all, and help bring that to life in a unique way that hopefully will be successful in the long term.
Fantastic. And how did you get to start with, I guess, starting up your agency, and then you've got some really impressive logos on there. How did you go about getting yourself into those different spaces, into those rooms, and getting those amazing clients?
Definitely. I think that's a question I get from a lot of, younger creatives, also people who want to get into the industry and are looking to start an agency down the line and build, a path towards that. I didn't follow the typical path, which is to work my way up in agencies, and there's nothing wrong with that direction. I feel like it would have helped me, speed things up a little bit in a lot of ways. But for me, my path was to create an opportunity to give and create an opportunity to bring people together. And that led to getting on the radar of a lot of these brands. And what I mean by that is, out of school, I started a supper club. I started a series of amazing dinners bringing together artists or filmmakers
Wow.
or other, types of culture creators together with chefs. And I just invited and cold emailed and got all these really, really fantastic people together in small groups of like 10 to 12. And over time, those really took off. And we had people who worked at big brands come to these events and have an amazing time. And that led to my first client, which was actually for event marketing. They came to us for a TV premiere for American Horror Story, and they wanted us to create a really elaborate, amazing dinner series for their premiere. And that's
Wow.
where it sort of clicked for me, like, hey, I can get paid for my ideas. I can sit in a room and come up with something and make it come to life in a matter of, weeks or months. This is what I really enjoy doing. And, that led to another project, And I think it's just a testament to, it's a totally different energy and spirit to invite someone to something that they're going to enjoy and share it with them rather than to ask them to hire you,
Yeah.
right? It keeps you top of mind, and it positions you as a thought leader, and it's builds relationships, like genuine relationships, and it's not as transactional.
It's the best demo I've ever heard of in my life. Somebody being able to demo their capability to provide an epic experience and to be that experience marketer for their brand. I mean, you've given them this experience. What an awesome way to kick that relationship off. And I think that a lot of our listeners that have maybe product brands that are kind of looking to extend that brand experience, not just from the online store if they purchased it in the retail environment, but then into the home. Packaging provides some of those elements. There's added experiences that come with the product that are outside the product itself. And a lot of the times they're struggling to find like, what's my unique way that I'm going to bring to life my brand within the container that this product's in, to provide more of what I believe, what our values are, and what we want our kind of tribe to be all about. So, in your experience, how does custom packaging and these extended brand experiences contribute to creating loyal customer bases? And what are some of the more effective strategies that you've seen for achieving this?
Definitely, I feel like there are a lot of ways to look at it, and I think it depends on the packaging. From in one sense, great packaging is sort of like fashion. Carrying that bottle around, carrying that bag, carrying that item is something that reflects your identity. And so I think in one sense, sometimes that's how a brand can use packaging to build loyal relationships. Is it's a statement about who I am and what my values are. Somebody who has a certain brand of water bottle is trying to signal something that maybe somebody with a Stanley Cup is trying to signal something else. So I think that's one sense.
Hmm.
Another is I really enjoy looking at packaging as a way to solve a problem. And what I mean by that is looking at challenges that people have with a specific type of product and using the actual packaging itself to resolve that. So a great example is Graza, the olive oil brand, taking inspiration from squeeze bottles that chefs use in the kitchen. They brought that into olive oil, and their packaging solves a problem and adds a benefit that became central to them. Right now, we're working on a condensed milk brand, and often condensed milk is sold in tins. You need to use a large quantity or throw away a large quantity that you might not need.
Yep.
And so we want to create packaging that's going to allow for multiple usage, instead of just one single usage. So I think that's another way to build loyalty through packaging. And then I think the last way is to create an experience through unboxing or using the product through packaging that builds word of mouth or engagement. And a good example of that, we worked on a charcuterie board brand, and they went from building full custom charcuterie boards to box that had all the different charcuterie board items in it,
Nice.
sort of like Lunchables. And so that whole experience gave people opportunities to customize and, create their own magical bites through the packaging itself. So I think, I
That's
would just
great.
encourage people, yeah, when conceptualizing their packaging to, you know, try and do one thing that's going to achieve a goal for your business. For some, the goal is to create a magical experience for a premium product. For others, it's to solve a problem and how people use packaging, and think through the right strategy for them.
Yeah, that's amazing. There's some really good examples there. And what are some of the challenges? So I guess on the flip side of this, some of the people that are listening to this might be thinking about bringing a product to market, going through some of that product development stage maybe. Some people are already out there and doing it, and they're looking for new ways to optimize. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen or roadblocks that businesses face when it comes to packaging, branding, and these extended brand experiences? How might they overcome them?
Definitely. I think I, on one level, I think the challenge is fear, right? It's scary to start a business. It's scary to launch a product. And a lot of times, because things are scary, people revert to what's safe and what's expected. And a lot of times, it can be much easier to follow what conventions are rather than to take a stand and do something a little bit different. So I think that the mentality, I think, is one of the challenges there. But I think often with packaging, I always say that being safe is often riskier than being bold.
Hmm.
And I think that getting past that hump, and really being confident in taking a bold stand can be helpful because that's what's going to help you stand out on shelf or whatever platform you're selling on.
Hmm.
Once you're past that mentality hurdle, a lot of the challenges are just production, right? Um, if you have a different format, how do you communicate that, and get that done how you want it to get done? If it's a different material, can your co-packer work with that? Can your manufacturer work with that? And I'd say the biggest challenge is just that can the vendors that you're working with deliver on this unique custom packaging, um, or are they going to sort of limit you? And especially for newer brands that have lower minimums, it can be so hard to get
Yep.
anybody to do anything differently than what they're used to doing. Um, and you really have to be a bulldozer a lot of times and really ask the right questions and push and try and find the right fit of somebody who wants to grow with you and, not take no for an answer, because everyone will give you expert advice that you should just do it how it's been done. And, that just leads to you blending in and, not being special in
Hmm.
it.
100%. And taking these kind of positives and the negatives that we've just been going through, let's look at the future a little bit here. Maybe over the next 5 to 10 years, things have been moving quick. We've seen things move over decades. Now they seem to be moving on an annual basis, and technology and things are moving so fast. Um, Staying up to date is hard. So, what do you see as some of the future of custom packaging, these brand experiences? How do you see these things evolving over the next maybe 5 to 10 years, or even just over the next year or so? And what could our listeners and businesses listening be doing today to stay ahead of that curve?
Definitely. I think, as performance marketing gets more expensive, as other marketing channels get more expensive, word of mouth becomes more and more important. And I think packaging is a great opportunity to create word of mouth. Um, and there's a big trend towards what people call chaos packaging, packaging an item in the packaging from another industry. So, for example, like vacation sunscreen has a whipped sunscreen that comes in a canister similar to whipped cream.
Nice.
That's an example where they used a different format to drive word of mouth and get attention on shelf. Um, so I think that there will be a need for more uniqueness over time in everything from materials to format to experience, to stand out in a crowded market. And I think the next is uh, as brands like build their brand on social before they get into retail and need to constantly drive attention through social, having visually demonstrable packaging, I think, is really important. And what I mean by that is something that can be demonstrated in a couple seconds in a TikTok video. I think simple but really visually obvious, packaging is a huge help in those formats. And I think just, more innovation, more uniqueness throughout, I think is going to continue to be a trend. In which direction, I think that will change. But I think the days of just like packaging things as everybody else has packaged them and expecting to move the needle, I think are gone.
100%. Well, there's a lot of gold there. And what's next for you and the Truffl agency? Like, where do you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years? What's your vision there?
I think we are continuing to work on a handful of projects each year, so fewer projects each year that we get very involved in. And in addition to that, we sometimes incubate brands and invest in brands, so continuing to do that as well. But starting this year, we're going to start launching our own lifestyle businesses on the side, one at a time. Things that are like coffee shops or other extensions of our brand, like you mentioned earlier, a way to demo what we can do.
Yeah.
And just explore passions, and do more brick and mortar. We do a lot of products and CPG items and digital products. So places that, people can gather and create an experience is something that's very exciting for us.
Yeah, I love that. And all of that kind of ecosystem benefits each other, right? If you have those physical experiences, what a great way to show off your abilities and link those back into the digital and sort of e-commerce style products. That's awesome. Really excited for you. Well, thank you so much for giving the time today. This has been super valuable. That's it for today's episode of Unboxed. Thank you so much for giving the insights. If somebody wanted to get in touch, to become a client or try and pitch to become a client if you're taking anybody on, or even just to follow your journey, what's the best way for them to follow you?
The best way to get in touch, number one, is just our website, Truffl, Truffl.com. Besides that, Instagram, same name, is perfect. And LinkedIn works great as well.
That's great. We'll make sure that we have those into the show notes as well. So if you are listening, you should be able to go down there into the description and click those and then follow. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Leave us a review wherever you're listening to it. It means a lot to us and the algorithm robot overlords that control everything. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes, or you want to be a guest on the show, you can email hello@merchantboxes.com. Until next time, keep thinking outside the box and creating unforgettable brand experiences. Have a good one. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode. It was sponsored by Merchant Boxes. Merchant Boxes provide custom packaging to large businesses and small creators that customers love. If you are looking for award-winning custom package designs that make your business and products stand out from the competition, click the link in the show notes to find out more.